Students, I welcome you all on Rishikul Online School, the best platform for providing online education to students. So again, I welcome you. Students, this is module number 4, and in this module we shall discuss the topic Weathering the Storm in Irsama. It has been written by Harsh Mender and it has been taken from your book Moments. So let's move to next slide and see. Students, in this slide we shall discuss the story further. So let's discuss. Next morning Prashant grasped the situation of their shelter and noticed that the 2500 people over there were in grief. 86 people of his village had died. All 96 houses had been washed away and everyone had been in this shelter since the past 4 days. So far they had survived on green coconuts, which too were to finish soon. The young boy decided to lead the hungry and tired people in this moment of crisis. He organized a group of youths and elders to put pressure on the village merchant to give them rice. So students, rest of the story will be discussed in the next slide. So let's move to next slide. Students, in this slide we shall discuss the story further. So let's discuss. This effort succeeded and the group returned to the shelter with food for everyone. Although the rice was already rotten, but the hungry crowd didn't mind. Broken branches were gathered to cook the rice and people ate for the first time in 4 days. The next task was to clean the filth that had got collected in the shelter and tend to the wounds and fractures of the injured. On the 5th day, a military helicopter flew over the shelter and dropped some food parcels. So students, rest of the story will be discussed in the next slide. So let's move to next slide and see. Students, in this slide we shall discuss the story further. So let's discuss. However, this help didn't return, so the youth collected empty utensils and placed them on the stomachs of the children who were made to lie in the sand left by flood waters. This message got communicated effectively and helicopters began to make regular rounds to airdrop food and other basic needs. Prashant brought together the orphaned children and put up a polythene seed shelter for them. Women were asked to look after them and men would bring food and other materials. Weeks passed and Prashant noticed that people were becoming depressed. He persuaded women to start working in a food for work program that had been started by an NGO. He organized sports events for children. So students, rest of the story will be discussed in the next slide. So let's move to next slide and see. Students, rest of the story will be discussed in this slide. So let's discuss. He himself loved cricket, so he organized cricket matches. Prashant, along with other volunteers, helped the widows and children to resume normal life. His group successfully resisted the government's plan to set up institutions for orphans and widows. They believed that in such institutions, children would grow up without love and widows would suffer from loneliness and stigma. They decided to settle them in their own communities in new foster families made up of childless widows and orphaned children. 6 months after the destructive super cyclone, Prashant forgot his own sorrow of being a motherless boy. His handsome face is a source of light for the orphans and widows in his village. So students, this is the story of the withering storm in Irsama, and in the next module we shall discuss the new chapter. So wait for the next module. Keep watching the module. Thank you for watching the module.